Hey, welcome to GardenFork Radio. Thank you for downloading the show. My name is Eric. I have this DIY podcast and also a YouTube channel. Similar things. We talk about eclectic, fix-it stuff, food, all over the place. And today my friend Will is joining me. We're going to talk about outdoor kitchen spaces and improvements in Wi-Fi and mesh and stuff like that. So welcome, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm warmer than you, I think, because we had rain here and you probably had snow.
Actually, interesting item is it's a snow globe outside right now. We're supposed to get 5 or 6 inches of snow today. So when I look out the window right now, it's just it looks like somebody took the building and just shook it, and now there's all the little snowflakes floating outside.
Well, this is appropriate because you texted me and said, hey, on the show, let's talk about people building out their outdoor spaces, specifically outdoor kitchens. And I bet we have completely different ideas about that.
You know what? It's interesting. It's kind of becoming like, there was that trend of everybody's building man caves and their basements and in their garages and things like that. And
Yep.
The natural progression of it now is, hey, I'm going to build this expansive outdoor living space. So you see all these DIY gardeners building living spaces into their gardens, and all these, the garage guys building, now I'm going to build an outdoor kitchen, and families building outdoor spaces for their families and stuff. And it's just really becoming a trend. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see what your thoughts were versus kind of what we're looking at.
Mine is simple, as you know. So I actually have an outdoor kitchen in Brooklyn here, and I have a very small backyard. It's the most expensive piece of dirt I've ever paid for.
Do you have like grills and stuff, or like what does your setup look like?
I have an IKEA outdoor table, and then I have a 1,500 watt portable induction cooktop that I plug into the outdoor outlet, and that is my outdoor kitchen.
Nice. Very nice.
It works.
Hey, it works really well. Have you ever you can't forget the cardboard smoker, the cardboard box smoker, right? You got that probably out there too.
Well, I was thinking about that actually, because I was thinking, I should just start buying salmon and smoking it myself, because I buy the smoked salmon that comes with the little shrink wrap package at the grocery store. It's really expensive. And I'm like, I could smoke my own,
Yeah, no, a lot of those things, like the biggest one for me was, we'll buy beef jerky or beef sticks and that kind of stuff from like the meat market. And I think I bought a half a pound for $20 the other day. And I was like, wow, when did that become that expensive,
So have you built an outdoor kitchen? Are you planning one?
So we've been remodeling a duplex up at the resort property, and it has a very, very large deck. The gentleman who owned the property previous to us put in, I want to say the deck is 25 by 40, I think, which is just a massive space. And he had a hot tub and kind of the 90s style setup of lattice work, hot tub, fake plants kind of looking thing. And that's not really our style. So we took it all out, and I redid the deck top just to replace all the stuff because of the moisture damage on it. The whole south half of the deck was basically rotted out on the top. So we replaced everything, painted it, and now I'm just kind of doing some searching online to see, some different ideas. And boy, you like go down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden I'm like looking at these cooktop hibachi setups where people have it where they do cooking like, they're doing, the hibachi style, Benihana style cooking, all the way to, these elaborate bar kitchen setups and all that stuff. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where we're going to end up landing. But one piece I will do for sure is we're looking at putting a covering over the top of it, because as you look outside today, it's snowing. So I need a roof over the top of my kitchen for sure, or our outdoor living space, I should call it, to make sure that we can still use it in the wintertime.
I did actually buy a propane grill recently. Of course, I buy it in the winter. Wirecutter, which is a product review site owned by the New York Times, did a article about propane grills, and I've owned several of them. And I found them on the street, and I fixed them, and they would work, and then they would die. And I read this article, and they said the best propane grill to buy is one with a stainless steel firebox. And Weber makes one. It was about $520 at Lowe's. And I was like, I like roasting vegetables and stuff, but and I and I also like cooking, but sometimes I don't want our apartment to smell like last night's meal. So I've actually been that is my outdoor kitchen, is the induction cooktop for a saucepan or a pasta pot, and then the grill. I've been roasting stuff, and I made a cake in it, actually a chocolate cake. I made a video about that, but I'm I like simple, and I like that because I can cover it and put it away, and I don't have a large space. I think if you have a larger space, you can probably fill it out with all sorts of stuff.
I think you're right on that. That ultimately, I think what any project, just like anything else that we've ever talked about, I always start with the make a list of what you're thinking you're going to use it for, and then work backwards from there to figure out what you want to build. And our list is really simple items. I mean, I want to have a sink out there because how many times do you do something on the grill and then you got chicken on your hands or you got something wherever and you just want to go wash your hands off, but you have to walk in the house or grab a doorknob to open it up, So to have that or to rinse off a utensil really quick or something like that. And so those types of things are some of the things that we've, put into thought of what we're going to do. But I mean, you can go crazy. They have so many different inserts and pieces where you just basically build almost a bar top, and they have all these stainless steel drawers and doors and sinks and cabinets and smokers and cooktops and grills and everything that you could build into your heart's content. I mean, anything you could think of, basically, they have now that you could put in an outdoor kitchen.
And outdoor kitchens have been around for forever. I mean, the first kitchens were outdoors. You didn't bring it into your hut. But I remember particularly in the South during earlier times, they would have an indoor kitchen and an outdoor kitchen, or a kitchen in a separate building that was kind of sort of connected to the main house. And I thought, what we're doing now with a deck and a kitchen is kind of the same thing. It's much more leisurely based, rather than cooking a meal for an extended family. But I wonder if they had the same kind of catalog where you could pick and choose what kind of cast iron you wanted for your outdoor kitchen.
I think it's just like anything else. It's kind of a new trend. I mean, you go into the home improvement stores and you're seeing more and more of this specialty lighting, and here's a way you can mount a TV outside or fans and things like that. So all of the creature comforts that you'd have normally in your house are now kind of coming outside. I think long ago, I agree that everybody's been cooking outside since the beginning of time, but now it's kind of becoming commercialized and fancy and, decorative more than just functional.
My big concern about a lot of the appliances is how they hold up being exposed to the weather, and like spiders. Like spiders are famous for laying eggs in the little propane grill tubes, for the lack of a better word. The grill where the gas comes out of the jet and the flames come up through the grill itself. Those little tubes are perfect for spiders.
Yeah,
and you don't have that problem inside, and outside you have that in a greater amount. Is that the word?
I 100% agree with you. You should see the debates online of covered cooking area versus uncovered cooking areas, and the statistics that people come up with where your devices like your grill and so on. Like if you build a roof over the top of your outdoor kitchen, the statistic that everybody throws around is your appliances last 5 times longer than an uncovered kitchen area. So there's all the debates of the fabrics of the chairs that you put out there and all this other stuff. But for us, we're just really looking to solve a need of exactly what you're talking about, doing certain cooking outside so that it doesn't smell up the house, or maybe it's just too hot outside and you want to, not cook in the house and fire up the oven, so you want to do something outside instead. So that's kind of how we're looking at it, more than, building some, monstrosity that we're going to have gigantic parties on, because, well, I already own one of those. It's called the Resort. So
one of my best friends in our little town upstate has a big green egg, and he built essentially a big rolling wooden cart with a countertop around it. And actually the cart has its own heavy duty wheels, and they took the wheels off the big green egg. And so during the summer, that is out in the patio area, and they cook a lot with that. And then there's a huge, like a 3 or 4 foot wide prep area right adjacent to the green egg that kind of sits within the countertop. It drops in with some space around it, so the the egg doesn't heat up the tabletop too much. And then it's got these heavy industrial wheels, and they wheel it back into the garage. So kind of a portable kitchen might be an idea for a lot of people.
I will say that that's the nice thing about at least this area of DIY is you can go the gamut. You could build a small, simple, they almost call them like food carts or food trucks or whatever, but a small cart that you roll out and that's your outdoor kitchen, to an elaborate sitting area where you can have your guests sitting in an area and there's actually a table and chairs and all that stuff out there, and with all the appliances. I mean, so depending on what works for you and your situation, if you have a space concern, maybe you build the tiniest outdoor kitchen, or maybe you have a lot of space, so you build a huge outdoor kitchen. I mean, that's the benefit of this, is you can build it to whatever you want and whatever style you want. And there's so many options out there today. It's almost overwhelming.
The other idea I have is you could get a rolling tool cart, the one that has all your tools in it.
Sure.
And they're quite expensive at Harbor Freight. And you could keep all your silverware and knives, all the stuff you want for your outdoor kitchen in that. And so you don't have to pull everything out of your indoor kitchen every time you're cooking outdoor. You just roll this puppy out. You could probably fill it with stuff you buy at garage sales, knives and forks and spoons and blenders and whatever. And then you could put a power strip on the side, so you could have your margarita blender on the top of it. And this is all a video.
There you go. The outdoor rolling tool cart kitchen hack.
Yeah.
Did you know, speaking of, let's go down a rabbit hole about tool carts. Did you know that there's a trend? Harbor Freight has been selling a white tool cart for a long time on one of those rolling tool carts, and they turn it into a baby's changing table.
No.
Yeah, so they take the white Harbor Freight tool cart and you build a little thing on the top of it to make the changing area, and then all the drawers open up and you put all the stuff that you'd use inside your changing table room. And since it's white colored, it fits in better inside the house than anywhere else. So if you look it up, there's a huge rabbit hole of people turning tool carts into changing tables and those types of things in kids' rooms.
Oh, wow. Now I have some ideas. I know. Let's go to Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Let's go. Get in the car, kids.
They no longer send out their 20% off coupons in magazines and mailers and stuff.
Is it now all by app, or I haven't really seen too many promos like that at all?
I think you have to join. They have like a members club now, which I don't join because I would just want to go there and buy things. So
I kind of look at Harbor Freight as a good place. Like if you need to buy a tool to use once, and you don't want to buy the $50 one, and you could get away with the $20 one or the $15 one, buy it, use it the one or two times, and if it breaks, you're okay.
Right. There's something to be said for buying quality. I mean, but I have a 5-pound sledge or a 3-pound hand sledge, and I've had it 10 years, and I use it a couple times a year, and that's perfect. It's something I need every once in a while to slam something into the ground or slam a big nail into a piece of wood. And it's perfect for that. So
I actually buy their pry bars and their crowbars, because if you have a demolition going on, you want 3 or 4 guys working on something, it's easier to go to Harbor Freight and buy, we have a little tool bag that has basically the demolition kit in it, and it's got a bunch of hammers and crowbars and stuff like that. That's just going to get the snot beat out of it anyways. And it works really, really well for that kind of stuff too.
The demolition kit.
Yep, exactly.
All right, I'm going to let you behind the curtain here. The camera operator was on the GardenFork patrons after show the other day. Patrons submitted questions, some of them rather awkward, and I answered them. And the camera operator had fun at my expense. So I'm going to play you a little clip, get a little peek behind the curtain. What's your favorite video you've ever made?
Well, 2 come to mind. One I really like, there's one about hostas. This is a really long time ago. And Henry is a puppy. And that one is just cute. But I might like that one just because Henry's a puppy. And Eric's kind of a puppy too then. Yeah. But the other one that I actually really like is Eric made this dog bed for the back of the Subaru. And he was like, I'm making a dog bed, and then he shows it to me, and I was like, that's a dog bed. And I was like genuinely like really like laughing till I was crying, because that's really not what I was expecting. It was like, it ends up being like this little cover thing, and the dogs really liked it, and it worked fine, but it wasn't really what I had in mind, and I was just laughing and laughing.
Yes.
And I think Eric feels like I was laughing at him, not
Yes.
with him, but it really made me laugh. And so that's one that I like. There's also one that's very popular where you're like doing something with the tomato cages, and you almost pop your eye out.
Oh yeah.
That one actually I don't like, because I'm like, oh my god, that was so close. But a lot of people do like that one.
That was pretty funny. So I can't promise that every time we do an after show, the camera operator came on. It was the holidays, and I thought, well, let's say hello to everyone. It went over really well, and people really liked it. So she will be back on again. But there's also, just once we record the podcast, kind of my brain is still rolling, and usually whoever my co-host or guest is, their brain is still rolling too. And there's something we wanted to talk about in the show, we forgot or something, or we go on some deep tangent like we did on this one. So I don't know, would you consider that? It would really help me focus more on creating cool stuff, videos and podcasts, and be less beholden to the affiliate links and the numbers that YouTube requires to make any kind of money on ad revenue. So I'm asking if you would consider $5 a month. That's a fancy cup of coffee a month. Before that, you get emails from me or notifications if you load the Patreon app on your iPad or your device. It's like, hey, it's a lot of stuff that I don't share on Instagram and Facebook. It's just spontaneous. Like I was watching a show on Netflix the other day, and I took a picture of the screen and said, this is a pretty good show. And boom, I just sent it out. I didn't really think about the planning, the keywords, the SEO. I was just like, hey, I like this. I think you might like it too. And it wasn't This Old House TV show, by the way. So anyway, $5 a month. Would you consider? Interested? The link is below. You can also go to patreon.com/GardenFork. That's patreon.com/GardenFork. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I just re-Wi-Fi'd my apartment and the little house upstate as well. The camera operator works from home part-time, and we had a little bit of one day the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and I'm like, that's it. I'm just going to buy a new one. And I went to Best Buy, and I bought a mesh with 3 little white plastic tower things, and it works flawlessly.
Is that the Google or the TP link or
It's the TP link. I will link to it in the show notes here. It's about $250, but it was well worth it. It was very easy to set up. And it allows you to also use Ethernet hubs. So
now, do each one of those little towers have a plug on it where then you could go, so like you could have it in your basement and then it goes wireless upstairs and then you could turn it back into wired upstairs, or do you have to do something else for that?
Well, depending on which mesh unit you buy within, I think it's the brand is TP-Link. I'll have to double check. Some of the mesh towers have 2 Ethernet connections in and out, and some of them have 3 or 4. The ones with 3 or 4 are quite a bit more expensive. What I did was the instructions say your main mesh little tower goes right into your cable modem, and then the Ethernet out from there I put into a 8-plug unmanaged Ethernet hub, which is all of $35. And then from there I ran one upstairs and I ran one downstairs. And then I also I try and hardwire almost everything, because I am convinced that we're going to have an electrical storm and everything's going to stop working. So, but like my computer for the podcast is hardwired, because if you will try and record a podcast on a Wi-Fi computer, you're asking for failure. The Apple TV box is hardwired with the Ethernet, because you're trying to pull video data across Wi-Fi onto a big screen. Doesn't always work great. So I try and Ethernet as much as possible. What do you do, sir?
I'm actually the exact opposite. I'm wireless almost all the way across the board, other than using wire to help get wireless to other areas. I think that when you're spanning long distances, Wi-Fi can be challenging because there's a lot of interference. And I think I agree 100% with you when you're doing key things like video or audio recording, those types of things. The more wire that you could use, the better off you are. But let's say you have a house that's between 1,000 and 1,500 or 2,000 square feet, and you're just using the network in your space for your own personal usage. Wi-Fi has gotten so good these days that you could have multiple streams of video running over the top of it, and these routers are becoming almost like air traffic controllers with your data going, oh, we got video coming in, okay, bring the video in, oh, here comes an audio call, okay, let that slide in here, and it's constantly shuffling all of that data around in different levels and different systems inside the house. That I think on a small scale, these Wi-Fi systems are good, but that being said, if you want to send it over a long distance, or if you have heavy materials in your house like brick and stone and concrete in significant amounts, then all of a sudden that changes the complete dynamic. If you have a single story house in the Midwest that's built out of stick, 2x4s and sheetrock, Wi-Fi is your friend. If you're in a brownstone in downtown Brooklyn and it's surrounded by brick and concrete and stone and heavy timber and everything else, you're probably going to have to mix it up and use Wi-Fi and wired. I think both have a need. I lean more towards wireless as much as we can, but I know that you still have to use Ethernet in a lot of cases just to make sure that you can get it to places.
There's a lot of older houses that have, if they have plaster walls, they have mesh behind them. And that mesh can mess up your Wi-Fi also.
Yeah, it makes like a Faraday cage for your Wi-Fi, and then it doesn't work very well.
So you wouldn't have to have that tinfoil underneath your baseball cap.
No. I use bubble foil because we're in Wisconsin. You got to stay warm.
But having the mesh, I was always like, oh, is that really worth it? And I had previously tried to do what's called access points with several different Wi-Fi routers that I had. They're all the same brand. And it would sometimes work and sometimes drop out. And then this mesh thing was plug and play. The only issue I have is you're using an app to control the mesh, to set the settings. And it's on an iPad. I don't have it on my phone. But when your iPad upgrades and all of a sudden TP-Link upgrades their app, are they going to be backwards compatible with their older mesh systems? Because I've had that happen before with a wireless speaker I have, for music. The company that makes that speaker, well, the new app, which is required from the new operating system of the iPad, doesn't support the older speaker. So am I like, I wonder if there's a hack can you get the older app and put it on an older iPad or something? Is there like a repository of this stuff somewhere secret?
I actually have that very issue. I have an old iPad. I don't want to say it's one of the super old ones, but I kept it around because the Wi-Fi thermostats that I've been purchasing over the last number of years that we've been putting in our different properties and buildings and stuff no longer is supported by iOS. So it's one of those situations where now I have all these Wi-Fi thermostats and I can't edit them or change them via the app. So I had to keep an old iPad around so that I was able to use the old Wi-Fi network connectivity to talk to the thermostats. Now, granted, slowly I've been buying these new. Nest came out with a brand new thermostat. I don't know if people know this or not, but besides the regular $300 and $340 ones that they have out in the marketplace, they now have a $79 or a $99 one, depending on what the price or where you see it at. We've been putting those in, and they're phenomenal. They work awesome. We've been replacing all of our stuff, and it works very, very well. And yes, they're not as swanky. They don't have the big dial and the glass and everything like that. It's more plastic-based. But to get the same technology, I guess I don't really need to have a super fancy glass art piece on my wall to turn the temperature up and down in my house.
Right. The cool factor's not there, but I have the simplest Nest thermostat they make because I just want to have the heat turn up in the morning and turn down at night,
Is it that gray one? Is it like
mine's kind of off-white. I can't remember the name of it. But it's the cheap one. But that's fine. It just Wi-Fi. I do the Wi-Fi with the Nest app and I'm done.
Yep. No, that's what we've been switching to, and they've been great. But it's funny how we talk about all the technology of Wi-Fi and everything like that, and all these smart devices. And as time goes along and technology chugs along, my house is becoming outdated. And before, if you bought a thermostat back in the 80s and hung it on the wall, that thermostat's still running today because you walk up and turn the dial and it still works. That Honeywell one's still cranking along. But here I am 3 years later, and I have Wi-Fi thermostats in my house that I can't upgrade or change because the company didn't get bought or didn't keep up with technology or wasn't compatible or something. And now all of a sudden I have to go and replace all this equipment again.
Also, for all the smart devices that use Wi-Fi, I created a second Wi-Fi network. I'm not going to tell you the name of it, with the mesh, and it is not publicly. It doesn't show publicly, because you can see your neighbor's Wi-Fi, all their Wi-Fi routers with the silly names. It's a bit of me and my paranoia of someone trying to hack into our Wi-Fi system through a smart device. Actually, Rick could talk about this more. He's an expert. But I have read that creating a second dedicated smart Wi-Fi network, keeping it separate from your laptop and whatever network, is a smart thing. So
I've actually changed all mine to say FBI surveillance van, and for whatever reason, nobody ever messes with any of them.
Secret Kremlin backdoor.
Nice.
It's the Wi-Fi names are funny. Like there's one guy, a person nearby me. It says none of your business.
Nice.
And and the other one is like, access denied. And I'm like, are you a science fiction fan or something? Or it's just, I'm like, what are you thinking?
Somebody told me that I should change the one in the bar to you have to order a drink first. So when people come in to ask, they usually sit down at the bar and like, hey, what's your Wi-Fi password? And you're like, oh, you have to order a drink first. And they're like, oh, I'll take a Budweiser. Okay, what's your password? Oh, you have to order a drink first. All lowercase, no spaces. And they're like, oh man.
That would be great.
I'll work on that. Maybe this year we'll change it. So,
or you could, I mean, I know of someone who manages a cafe, and the public Wi-Fi for them is a headache. So they turned it off.
For us, the biggest challenge I have, and I'm now kind of moving into this semi-commercial Wi-Fi space. I've talked about these devices before. They're called Ubiquiti. You can buy them on Amazon, and if you want them for your home, I mean, they are bulletproof. The problem with them are they're $600 for the set of 3, or $800 or $1,400 depending on which ones you're getting. But what they do is they manage the people on your Wi-Fi, not necessarily your devices. So, example, like it'll limit the amount that you can stream. So you could stream Netflix, but you can't stream 4K Netflix. Or it'll say, okay, we have 100 gigs of data that we can download and there's 300 users. Okay, divide it up so that there's always some available for the next user to come on. And then it just keeps paring itself down to a minimum standard. Or even allow people that go, okay, you might have 100 megs available or 100 gigs available to download, but we're only going to let you do it at 3. Those types of scenarios. So it's an issue though, because like if it rains outside, I guarantee you we'll have 300 or 400 devices on our Wi-Fi, and everybody wants to stream Netflix, Hulu, or watch some TV show. And at that point in time, when you have that many users on, no matter what connection you have, it gets crushed. So I've got to think of the service levels of, okay, it's raining outside and there's 300 people trying to download movies, and I'm trying to run credit card transactions on the POS, which is also on the same internet connection. So we've actually divided it out that now the operations of the business, I buy 2 internet connections, one for the public and one for the business. So no matter what happens, there's always Wi-Fi available to run credit cards or run the security cameras or access different things on the property. And then the public uses the second one we pay for, which is now going to be controlled by Ubiquiti, which allows me to run it like a corporate campus.
Wow. Who knew we'd go from outdoor kitchens to this?
I know. Just wanted to make some hot dogs and watch some Netflix, but now here we are.
What are we going to talk about in the after show? I think we've exhausted you, but I'm sure we can figure out a topic.
Always comes up with something fun. It always goes this weird rabbit hole, too. We start like, oh, we're going to talk about this in the after show, and the next thing you know, we're off on the ether.
Hey, I thought our 4-person live stream went pretty well the other day.
I'm surprised at how many people have watched it after. I mean, I get the idea of watching it live because you can ask the questions and interact, but just seeing the number of people that are interacting with it afterwards and things like that, I think it's a pretty cool thing.
I like that we could show, it almost felt like TV because we could show people's comments on the bottom of the screen.
Were you doing that live while we were watching the show, or how is that happening? That's so cool.
I'm in control, Will.
Nice, nice.
We're going to do a live stream from Aaron's YouTube channel, The Impatient Gardener. I think we're trying to do it very soon. So I will let you know if we're going to do that. I'll put that in the email. By the way, there are a number of people who said, hey, YouTube didn't tell me about the live stream because I scheduled it ahead of time and it's supposed to show up in your notifications and that. But YouTube and their lovely algorithm don't show my videos to people. So if you want to find out ahead of time, you should sign up for my email list. There's a link here. Just if you go to any page on GardenFork.tv, there's a little pop-up. I think it's on the side or at the bottom to add your name to the email list, and then you have to confirm through an email that I'll send you. But that's the best way to find out what's going on in my world is the email list. So
I will say that I am on the email list. That's how I found out about when the show was. And I was one of the hosts or the guests.
If you want to watch the live stream, Will has an interesting piece of home furniture in the background over his left shoulder.
Oh boy, here we go.
We were teasing him about it afterward.
I didn't realize it. Like I sat down and I'm glad there wasn't anything bad behind me. I mean, at least it was that thing, but it just... I'm going to leave it there forever now. Next time we do this, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to leave that there. That's going to be the thing so everybody can look out for it.
We'll talk about this more in the after show. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Let me know your thoughts. It's radio@gardenfork.tv. Radio@gardenfork.tv. Thanks, guys. Garden Fork Radio is produced by GardenFork Media, LLC in Brooklyn, New York. Our producer is Sean O'Neill. If you need an amazing podcast producer, visit Sean's site, SeanInBrooklyn.com. That's Sean, SEAN, in Brooklyn.com. Our executive producer is Jimmy Goose. For more information about Jimmy and the custom hollow books he makes, visit hollowbooks.com. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.